People who walk their fish in a bag, others who feed on megalis, or those who eat rotten meat. Make yourself comfortable. Here are 8 people who have strange behaviors with their animals. You're surfing the web, when suddenly you come across this weird challenge that is currently all the rage on social networks. This one consists in eating rotten meat, in order to get high. According to some sources, eating rotten meat would give you an intense feeling of euphoria. Very intrigued, you also decide to try it. At worst it will be a poisoning, a matter of 2 or 3 days and it will be over. You then go to your fridge, take out a piece of meat, and leave it to rot for a few weeks outside. And 4 weeks later you still haven't come to your senses and you persist in doing this challenge. You start eating the raw meat, covered with mold and stinking of death. You wait for a few moments, until the promised sensation comes over you, but nothing. Sure, you might feel a little woozy, but nothing to get you high, as they say. Not only are you at the height of your lucidity, but you are also lucid enough to feel severe abdominal pains gradually invading you. This will most likely be followed by vomiting, diarrhea and acute dehydration. The cause is that tainted meat develops fungi and bacteria that can lead to very serious illnesses such as salmonella and staphylococcus. Don't worry, what's done is done. You just have to be patient and wait for it to pass. Hopefully it's not more serious than a poisoning. But this bad experience will teach you that not all the stupid challenges you see on the internet are good to experience. It is a rather monotonous afternoon. It is all gray. The atmosphere is sad. You are bored alone at home, and to see the face of Dug Up that makes Claude your goldfish does not improve things. He seems to be so bored in his 30cc jar that you decide to take him out for a breath of fresh air for a change. Yes, but what to take him out in? You go to search on the internet, and that's when you come across a small Asian store in the center, which sells the latest fashionable gadgets. Among them, the Katsugyo bag, a kind of jar in the shape of a giant pill, which is held by a handle and which allows your little fish to walk around, enjoy beautiful views and immerse himself in the wild rhythm of the city. Why shouldn't he be allowed to do so after all? You pick up your fish in its jar and head to the store in question. You buy your Katsugyo bag, put Claude in it, and that's when you say to yourself that you were right to choose a fish instead of a dog. The Katsugyo, Claude and you will become the best friends in the world, especially since your fish will feel right at home in it. Katsugyo was originally developed by a Japanese company with the aim of transporting the fish you caught or the live fish you bought at the market to your home, to guarantee the freshness of your sashimis. Yes, the reality is crueler, I admit it. But who said you can't use it to walk your little fish? Of course, in the eyes of those who have never seen such a phenomenon, you will look like the last of the fools, but it doesn't matter because Clo is happy and so are you. You'll go home happy to have done something good today, despite the gloom you were in. With this, you will feel less guilty every time you go out and he will feel happier. You've heard of seedless watermelon or grapes or even thornless prickly pear, but I'm sure you've never heard of featherless chicken. Want to know more? Get ready, because what you're about to discover today is going to blow your mind. Sorry, your hair off. Meet the featherless chicken, a strange and repulsive-looking breed that was created by Israeli researchers. As you can see, the chicken is completely plucked and alive. The goal is to make it cheaper, more practical and therefore more saleable. However, do not think that the chicken has been genetically modified. The fact is that it is the result of more than 50 years of research and natural selection methods. Not surprisingly, these chickens are less protected and therefore more vulnerable to parasites, mosquitoes and sunburns. Advocates of this practice find a number of advantages to these naked chickens. Their meat has a lower fat content, they grow faster, require fewer loads to raise, can adapt to arid climates, are more environmentally friendly because they do not require plucking, which requires large amounts of water, etc. Do you feel a little repulsed by the sight of these plucked chickens? Anyway, nothing forces you to eat them. You can always buy a good plucked chicken the traditional way at your favorite poultry shop. And since we're talking about him, the next time you see him you'll have a good one to teach him. Orlando is a 10-year-old boy, who belongs to the Piaroas tribe, an indigenous people from Venezuela and Colombia. When he is hungry, instead of going to his mother's house, he decides to go hunting with his friends. And who says hunting, necessarily says an immersion in the forest. So, he gathers his little band of friends, and all together go in search of some treats to put under the tooth. When I say treats, I'm not talking about honey, edible flowers or fruits. I'm talking about live insects of the fleshy and hairy kind. In a twilight atmosphere, Orlando hunts for fat and tasty insects, grasshoppers, big caterpillars, beetles, but his pleasure is the Leblon's tarantula. A tarantula that is the size of a dinner plate, which eats prey larger than itself like cockroaches, crickets, birds, frogs, small mammals, or even snakes. When he catches enough of them, he lights a fire and roasts them well, because according to him they are better that way. He sits down with his friends around the good meal and does not make the fine mouth, he devours them with appetite. For him, it is not only a dish, it is a delicacy. But this escapade is not without dangers, because very often Orlando and his friends are confronted with venomous animals which risk to wound them or to poison them. The mygale of Leblond, for example, has an extremely painful bite. But don't worry, Orlando knows perfectly well the difference between what to eat and what to run away from. With time, he is able to better bear the pain of the bite of the mygale. This is what it means to grow up in the forest and lead a life like Mowgli. Besides, the taste of its crab-like flesh is apparently worth the sting. And luckily, every time Orlando goes hunting with his friends, he comes back happy, full and alive. In May 2020, a 12-year-old boy named Alessandro was with his father in a mountain, near Sporminor in Italy. He wanted to have a good time with his father, while enjoying a nice walk in the open air. While he was ahead of his father by a few meters, Alessandro suddenly came face to face with a huge brown bear. His reaction was incredible. While any other child would have run away without thinking, which would have provoked a terrible rage in the bear, Alessandro kept a disconcerting cold blood. He turned around, being very careful not to make any sudden moves, and walked away slowly. Finally, the animal fled without attacking the young man. And if Alessandro reacted in this way, it is not without explanation. His father confided later to the Italian media that his son was a great passionate of bears, and that he knew perfectly well what he had to adopt as a reaction in order not to be attacked. Of course, the apparent impassivity of the boy does not necessarily mean that he was not afraid. The boy was terribly surprised and frightened, especially since he was not expecting such an encounter. He returned home that day quite shaken up. It's not every day that you meet bears, but at least he lived an unusual experience while showing courage. He who loves bears so much. In a building located in the city of Nizhny Novgorod in Russia, a young man lives alone with a rather particular pet. It is a leopard. As for all the animals, the master wants to take his big cat out every day to walk him in the city. So he ties it to a leash and takes it out as if it were an ordinary animal. During the walk, the young man and his leopard leave everyone stunned with surprise and fear, because it is a voracious animal, which kills in cold blood, even when it is hungry, ironically. However, the big cat remains surprisingly docile and very calm. He follows his master without too much reluctance. But what terrifies the neighbors the most is that the man ties his leopard to an ordinary leash normally designed for cats, and especially without a muzzle, contrary to the law. I wonder which one, by the way. Moreover, the neighbors intend to complain to the authorities because living with a leopard in the same building is not easy. The young Russian will surely have to separate himself from his cat or move to a place where there would not be any living soul. But for the moment, he doesn't seem to care about what people say. He takes his leopard out without a guilty conscience. What matters to him is that he comes home after the walk happy and fulfilled with his best friend. You are alone at home, looking for a little pre-dinner snack, and tonight you want to concoct an original dish. You open your fridge, but you can't find anything really famous to spoil your taste buds. Take note, we have a recipe idea to share with you, a recipe that comes straight from Asia. However, you have to do the shopping first, and that's not easy. First of all, you'll need to find the key ingredient of the recipe, a full-grown crocodile, which you'll have found somewhere in the city or in the forest. Light a fire on which you will place a pot, a giant one of course. You will plunge your animal into boiling water, then scale it, and stew it for several hours. Once cooked, you will dress it on a dish, brush it with a chili sauce with onion that you will have made beforehand. And above all, take care of the presentation. You have to satisfy the taste buds but also the eye. I don't know if you will like this recipe, because eating crocodile will be a first for you, and even if you don't like the visual, you have to start sometime. You who wanted originality. Or you can always opt for a quick menu at the local Chinese restaurant. In both cases, you will be happy to sleep with a full stomach tonight. The men you see in these pictures were out hunting in a forest when they came across a crocodile, an ideal prey. They decided to catch it and cook it. They first muzzled it and took it to a stream to gut it. Once they opened it, they had the incredible surprise to discover 3 turtles still alive. They released the latter and dismembered the crocodile to cook it. The 2 men then lit a fire to grill the upper skin of the reptile so that it could be scaled easily. After that, they cut the crocodile into pieces, added lemongrass sticks, aromatic leaves, ginger and spices. All this in a pot, with a very hot sauce, and that's it. You can imagine that they didn't get this good little dish without sweating a bit. The crocodile was still a tough cookie, in the sense that he was aggressive during the capture. But to see them enjoying and eating with appetite, it was obviously worth it. They who had hoped to catch a small boar managed to catch a bigger one. So what did you think of these sequences? Tell us in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive all the notifications. See you tomorrow.